I'm Isaac. Ellen gave me like such a crazy introduction.
All right, get over yourself.
Kind
Let's
of-
keep
kind
it
of
going. It's a
uncomfortable,
conversation. Yeah.
But I want to say that as far as like the connection back to, we're like used to talking about capitalism in crisis and like the Holocaust, right? Because it's this moment of industrial capitalism really taking the energy and the destructive forces that were going on in all of the global south of all these colonial countries, and Germany, which didn't have the colonial stature, was colonizing people, but not to the degree in the way of like Britain and France, and then refracting it, taking it into Europe, right, within itself. In many ways, probably more inspired by America than America is maybe inspired by Nazism now. And so the way that we sort of imagine ourselves as going down the path of we're becoming like Nazism is like we did that 300 years ago. Europe wanted to unify and have, this sort of like collaborationist class that we basically have in this country many descendants of from down the line of the Pilgrims. And if you want to trace that back to the idea of colonialism, right, coming in who was the regime, right, of Spain that did colonization? They also committed the Inquisition. Right, anti-Jewish violence is at the root of coloniality. It's at and like that was then transformed through industrial capital. This is a problem, that used to be called the Jewish question. The persistence of anti-Semitism, the persistence of anti-Jewish violence and systems of oppression. We're seeing the continuation and the acceleration of these processes. So we're seeing new frontiers. I mean, for my generation, Ellen's generation, other folks here who grew up with privileges, Jews it's not so much that we're seeing it ripped away as we're seeing a type of violence return to where I can have my grandmother sending me an email she's bougie, she's never experienced any type of real oppression. I mean, she didn't even...
I want to hang out with her.
Yeah. But she sent me an email right after Pittsburgh saying, you've never experienced anti-Semitism in your life, you will. And a lot of people are getting messages like that in our community, and it's not because of like anything made up. I mean, I'm a Hebrew school teacher. I had to teach Hebrew school the very fucking next day. And I also want to say that, like, as we respond to this, it's not just about, on the one hand, looking at, this solidarity that we do need to have. Like, that's one real aspect. Like, there's Jews in the West Coast who are protesting outside of ICE, right, who are also connecting this to the black people murdered at the Kroger grocery store, connecting it to like Dylan Roof, perfect example, right? The violence that people of color feel every day in this country, like and showing up for it, that's a very important part of the equation. I think the other part of the equation is looking at how Jewish people are systematically oppressed in this country, because Trump was saying the same shit as Robert Bowers, the white nationalist, in a matter of days after the shooting. He was saying George Soros, this Jewish billionaire, is probably funding, he's calling it the caravan, but we know it's people seeking asylum from Honduras, right? And that scared me probably more than Pittsburgh.